When talking about The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers in relation to its source material, I could start by picking apart specific scenes and complaining about their lack of resemblance to the book, such as Éomer leading the reinforcements at the end instead of Erkenbrand. However, one of the most appropriate places to start when analyzing The Two Towers is the title. The Fellowship of the Ring is different in that you immediately know that it refers to the companions that embark on the quest. The Two Towers is a little more ambiguous. Apparently, Tolkien himself wrote that the title refers to the Tower of Orthanc, Saruman's base of operations, and Minas Morgul, a fortress of Gondor that was subsequently occupied by Sauron's ringwraiths, specifically the Witch King. In the film, the titular towers were changed. While Orthanc still remains, the second one became the Tower of Barad-dûr, Sauron's primary base in Mordor. Like with the other changes, this makes sense to me because, unlike in the book, Minas Morgul doesn't even make a major appearance in the film. The reason for that is because the beginning and the end of the Two Towers story were transferred to the Fellowship of the Ring and the Return of the King, respectively. Boromir's death was used as the climax of the first film, while the Battle of Helm's Deep is used to cap off this one. The scene where the heroes go to Isengard to confront Saruman, instead of occurring right after the battle, is saved for the third film. Getting back to my original point, Minas Morgul appears in the book because Frodo and Sam pass by it, whereas in the movie, they don't quite get that far. Their skirmish with Shelob the Spider is also reserved for the Return of the King. Instead, their main obstacle here is Faramir, a captain of Gondor who begins to fall under the influence of the ring. In the book, he says that he would not pick it up under any circumstances, which sort of diminishes its corruptive power. Not only does this added conflict in the movie draw an intriguing parallel to Boromir's failure, but it allows for a compelling character arc for Faramir in conquering something that his brother couldn't, and therefore showing his quality. This is even more fleshed out in the extended edition with an interesting flashback sequence. Like with the first movie, I don't find any of these changes to be an issue, as something that works in the context of the book may not necessarily translate well to film. Instead, the main conflict this time around is the alliance between Sauron and Saruman and how that affects society and nature. This is exemplified in how the horsemen of Rohan are continuously attacked by the Uruk-hai, eventually demonstrating a valor and an honor that allows them to drive their enemies back and prove that there is strength to be found in men. Another faction that proves its worth this time around is, oddly enough, the environment, namely the Ents. While these tree-like creatures have been criticized for supposedly slowing the story down, I personally think that their inclusion is fitting. Tolkien had an immense love for the natural world and was devastated to see it destroyed by the fires of industry and war. The Ents present what would happen if nature fought back, which is something that Tolkien really wanted to see after being faked out in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Speaking of trees, I originally said that Old Man Willow was one of the many concepts that were cut out of the Fellowship of the Ring. Well, not only does he make an appearance in the extended edition of The Two Towers, but Treebeard, the main Ent character, actually recites some of Tom Bombadil's lines to save Merry and Pippin. Speaking of Ents, their help is something that is more easily achieved in the book. They meet, they converse for a while, and decide to go to war. In the movie, it takes a little more convincing, with Merry and Pippin actually showing Treebeard what Saruman has done to the forest. This goes back to the golden rule of film: show, don't tell. Seriously, don't you find it more effective when we are actually shown the devastated forest instead of just being told about it? All of this makes it sound like the book is not very good, which is not the case at all. It's deep, immersive, and takes readers back to a time of valiant heroes battling unspeakable evil. The world that Tolkien created is rich with detail and culture, and the filmmakers take liberties where they have to in order to make a more accessible version of the story. In spite of the changes, the core of the story remains the same, and that's what it's all about.